This is Digvijay Golab, and this is my presentation for individual project submission for CS6440. The title of my project or the application is COVID-19 Prognosis Probability Application. So this is a simple Node.js web application which will be used to determine the symptoms of a patient suffering from COVID-19 and give a result based on those symptoms, whether the individual is going to end up in an ICU or he can suffer from more serious illness or he might recover. So this application or project is loosely based on my initial mini project 1 and mini project 3. So mini project 1 was to create a rapid testing application that would send text message or email to people who did a COVID-19 test. And mini project 3 was for a small Node.js application that would give the user a self-analysis of COVID-19 symptoms. So based on the symptoms that the user inputs, it would tell if the user actually had COVID-19 or not. So coming back to individual project submission. So this application, COVID-19 prognosis, is based on some of the research papers with the same topics, in which they assess some bodily blood levels as well as factors that determine if the person is going to survive or is he going to end up in an ICU or is he eventually going to die. So these are some of the blood factors and the death rate which are being used in the application. So these are some of the graphs that are being used from these papers. So coming back to the actual application, so the application source code can be found on the GitHub. Sorry for the misspelled, and this is the final comment. This is a simple Node.js application with React and Bootstrap and a very small amount of HTML and CSS. So this is the basic architecture. There is no file system. There is just nodes. There is no database. It was replaced by a file system, and the middle tier is Node.js and then React and Bootstrap. So this application is not being hosted on any hosting service like Heroku or GitHub. I had significant issues hosting to Heroku because I'm using Service Worker, which is a Node package which helps to run the application locally faster, and there were significant changes to be made. So that's why I kind of was not able to host the application on Heroku. So these are the installation instructions. Manually you can install Node.js and npm. These are the two dependencies, and after that's done, you can proceed with the source code. So I will try to install the application from the source code and run it. So this is where the application source code is located. So I will try to go to my terminal, and so at the bottom you can see some instruction section. So you can just follow these instructions. So git. Okay. So this is just going to copy all the source code to my local, and from there we can proceed with opening the application. There are a lot of Node modules that I imported. I'm not using any of these, but since I was using the Studio, it got all the dependencies. So let's see where the application is. Okay, so here you can see I downloaded the entire source code. Okay, so this is the folder. So I'm just going to the actual CD. Okay. So here it says we can just open the actual folder. Okay, so here it says you can see all the source code is being downloaded. You don't need to install npm if you already have it, but I'll just go ahead and install it just in case. It's going to update the npm that I already have on my machine. So once that is done, you can start the application and proceed to this localhost where you can see the application. So but right now the npm is still loading and we haven't really started the application. So this is a single page application. There is no user authentication. It's kind of public facing right now, and I haven't really made any changes to it. So I'll just do npm start. So that is going to kick off this application on the screen. So okay, so now the application is loading on this port 3000. So as I said earlier, there is no user authentication, and it's a public facing application right now. And once you land on this home page, you can see just the title, and there are 4 tabs. So below the 4 tabs, you can see the explanation for these 4 tabs, why they are being used. The 4 tabs are intensive care, acute respiratory distress, death, and mortality. So, and these are the explanations for the 4 tabs. So these 4 tabs actually don't mean anything unless and until you select the symptoms for from this drop down. So the initial symptoms are some normal symptoms, and then starting from lymphomania, these are blood levels or elevated blood levels of any of the symptoms over here. And at the bottom, you can see all the references that I have used to create this or extract data from these applications. So I'll just go ahead and select some of the symptoms. Suppose the patient is more than 60 years old. He has higher temperature. So as you select the symptoms, the score increases. So you'll see this red line, and not all the symptoms contribute towards COVID-19. So or a person's death or him going to an ICU, but it will some of the symptoms decrease the possibility of him dying. So diabetes, I'll just select. So I think sequential organ failure is not really contributing. Then organ platelets. Okay, so I selected like 5-6 symptoms, and it says the score for a person going to intensive care unit is 3. And if I, at the same time, if I go to acute respiratory distress, it says the score is 7. So the score, what the score means, I'm not really sure about the technical details, but this is just based on the papers and the data that we got from there. And the death from acute distress is 7, and mortality is same. So you can there is a lot needed to in order to medically certify this application, but this is just based on the papers and the data I got from there. So I'll refresh it and try to select some other symptoms. This time we'll just select acute distress or death and try selecting some random symptoms. Okay, so if I go to labs and select some more, so it gives me -1. Okay, so if I go to acute respiratory syndrome, that gives me a score of 11 and mortality a score of 9. So there still needs to be some refinement to be done in terms of how the score is being calculated. But as a rule of thumb, if you select more symptoms, the score should normally increase. And this will help a hospital staff to get a prognosis or for them to manage their ICU beds and the ventilators and their staff accordingly. Yeah, so this is it for my presentation. Thank you.